Hi, it's Health Coach Tara, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to calculate your macros and your calorie goals using my favorite program called Cronometer. I'm going to show you how to do this in a completely free account. So here I'm on our website, and this is a handy link that I've created for you to get all of our exclusive coupons and discounts for some of the products that we've vetted and that we use personally and love. So you can explore this as well. But here at the top, you see that we have Cronometer, and I talk a little bit about that. And you can either click here on this link or on the banner. And it's going to go ahead and open a new tab for you so you don't lose your place. And here you're going to set up your free account. So you're going to enter your email and a password that you remember. And then you're going to enter just some really basic information. So male or female. And note that when you choose female, you actually do get a few extra options. So if these apply to you, go ahead and select those. And then enter your height and your weight. Click I agree. And then click create account. What's going to happen next is a pop-up window is going to come up asking you to confirm your account, to activate your account. So once you get that done, let's see, don't know who I'm logged in as. So you will just come to cronometer.com anytime you want to use this and click login. So I created a dummy account. Just a generic account to use with you here today that hasn't been set up yet. So you're going to enter that, hit login. And now you're going to go through the setup process. And this is what I'm going to walk you through. All right, so you're going to start over here in settings. All right, and here is your email address. You can turn on or off newsletters and promotional emails. This is kind of nice. If you know that you might be forgetting, you can choose an email reminder if you forget to enter your details. So you can turn that on and you can choose whatever time you'd like. All right, so we're going to start just in the profile tab. So profile tab, your sex, your birthday, leave this where it is. So the next thing is your activity level. So for activity level, think about the job you do. So we start with the job you do or how active you are during the day. So if you are at a desk job, if you are mostly at home and you don't, your job isn't any kind of something where you're up on your feet, then you would choose sedentary. Now, if you are, maybe you're a teacher or you're on your feet a little bit more throughout the day, there's a lot of standing, maybe there's a lot of standing involved with your job, that's when you would choose lightly active. Now, moderately and very active, moderately active would be maybe you're a construction worker and you're on your feet pretty much all day long. Very active would be adding in like heavy lifting, just you know that your heart rate is elevated throughout the day because your job just requires that of you. So the thing is, you can come back and change these anytime. You can look at what the calorie goal is, and we're going to go through all that. So for now, just pick one. Just make your best guess. So, if I were setting this up for me personally, or a lot of my friends and clients, they tend to have sedentary jobs where they're at a computer all day. Maybe they're a programmer or they work in claims processing, and they're pretty much just sitting in front of a computer screen. So that's when you would use sedentary. So this says it's going to add 275 calories to the basal metabolic rate. Now, if you have a sedentary job, but you're maintaining weight, you can choose lightly active. So I know this gets a little bit confusing, but the reason I want to show you this is this is going to add a little bit more calories to your basal metabolic rate. And your basal metabolic rate is just the number of calories your body needs just to function while at rest. So if you were just laying down in bed all day, basal metabolic rate is just that baseline calorie. All right, so this is a way to just make some of those adjustments, and we'll come back and play with this. So then your current weight, you just would click update, enter your weight in. So we'll just, let's say this person's actually 160 pounds. And then you can click add to diary here. And then you've got your height, which of course won't change. And so it's going to calculate an estimated body fat percentage for you. So let me show you. So if we come back here and let's say this person actually is 150 pounds, just click add to diary. You see that this calculation changed and moved to 28% body fat. So this is also just, here's a little life hack tip, if you will. This is a way to figure out if you have a body fat percentage goal. So I personally have a body fat percentage goal versus a weight goal. So I could come in here and I could say, okay, if I'm 5'5" and I weigh 140 pounds, what would my body fat be? Well, 22.6. So if your body fat was maybe around 23%, if that was your goal, then you would know, oh, okay, so that would be my goal weight. So that's just a little tip for trying to figure out like, okay, if my body fat goal is 25% as a female, which is a pretty healthy range, somewhere between 20 and 25% is a pretty healthy range. You could just put that different weights in here and just kind of backwards figure things out. All right, so we're going to move on. So here, again, the BMI is also being calculated, and you can do the same exact thing as what we were doing for body fat to figure out what weight you would need to be to get to a BMI goal. All right, so let's move into targets. So here's where the fun part kind of starts. So Cronometer has made updates. They're very well known for being a ketogenic calculator. And actually, I'll show you a little bit later some of the places that use Cronometers to do some of their studies. So you can choose either one. So let's go through ketogenic calculator, and then I'm going to break down macro ratios. Macro ratios are often used once you get a little bit more advanced with keto, when you're looking to optimize things. So really basic, ketogenic calculator is a little bit of a newer tool, so it's pretty fun. So here is an option to choose a style of keto. And so this really is just talking about how strict your carbohydrate intake is. So when we're looking, and also your protein. So it figures this all out for you. So rigorous is going to be, you can see here, 1 gram of protein per kilogram of lean body mass. So you see that it's telling you, it's estimating your body fat at 28%. So it's actually making this calculation based on that body fat estimate. So if you have a smart scale or you had a DEXA scan and you know exactly what your body fat is and it's different from this calculation, you would simply come back over here to the profile tab and click update and manually update that body fat number. And then that's going to change your calculation for you. Love it. No math required. All right. So if we're rigorous, we're getting 1 here, and grams of non-fiber carbohydrates is 20. So if you are an athlete, so if you're training, if you're an athlete, you can include the athletic bonus, and that's going to add an additional gram of carbs per 50 calories you burn during exercise. So if you are doing some kind of an extreme program, if you're in CrossFit, if you're doing something like that, that is a good idea to turn on. So what happens if we go moderate? Well, you can see a few things change. So moderate is great if this is the first time you've done keto and you're worried about the keto flu. Moderate is a great place to start. When I started keto and when Jeremy started keto, we both started at this moderate level. So again, the decision is yours, but I'm just going to show you how things change. So here, now we have 1.5 grams of protein. So our protein's a little bit higher. And also our grams of non-fiber carbohydrates per day is higher. It also turns on automatically. You can see I'm clicking and it doesn't turn off. It's automatically including this athletic bonus. All right, so now let's go to relaxed. So more protein and more carbohydrates. So, and notice that it says non-fiber carbohydrates. I love this because I believe in getting rid of the fiber out of the net carb calculation. We'll talk more about that later. So here's relaxed. And then you can also choose custom. So custom opens these fields up so you can do whatever you want. So maybe you want 1.5 proteins, but you want to keep it at 20 grams of non-fiber carbs. Now, that's how you use the ketogenic calculator. I recommend this if you're just getting started. You can now, if you want to just put in ratios. So maybe you're following a specific program, you've used a different calculator somewhere else, and you know exactly what percentages you would like to eat for your macro ratios. You can actually put them in here. So some people will start with a ketogenic diet that has 20% carbohydrates. See, I need to change some of these other numbers. So here you've got to do a little math. So I'm at 105, 110. So we've got 20. So maybe your macros are 20% proteins, 20% carbs, 60% fat. Then you can set that up right here. So the macro ratios is just a place where you can put in percentages versus using this here. Now, before we move on, I'm going to go ahead and choose moderate for our example. And I want to point out this drop down. So if you have a sweet tooth, a really bad sweet tooth, and you're just starting keto, I would encourage you to start net carbs without sugar alcohols, net carbs with sugar alcohols, total carbs. So you have 3 options here. So whenever you hit a plateau, so let's say that you are doing net carbs and you're going to exclude sugar alcohols also from those net carbs. So let's say you're doing keto and all of a sudden you get to a plateau and you're struggling to get through that plateau. Now that would be a good time to flip this and start to look at how many sugar alcohols you're consuming on a daily basis. So then if you're someone who wants to calculate total carbohydrates, and you can see down here, this even updated, then you would go ahead and use total carbs. So we're going to do net carbs without sugar alcohols for this example. And then I want to scroll down here and look at these nutrient targets. So this is where I really love Cronometer because you're able to kind of track some additional things. So you can choose these on to be visible. So beta hydroxybutyrate, you can go ahead and turn this on because especially if you're taking any kind of supplemental products that have BHB in them. And so I like to track my caffeine intake, alcohol intake over time. So I tend to flip those on. And ash, if you're interested in that, you can definitely turn it on. And then over here in vitamins. So you can see just based on all these different things, you can make these visible or not visible. These are just the defaults. So if you're really paying attention maybe to how much folate you're getting in your diet, or maybe you're looking at B vitamins, which are great, stress vitamins. And then minerals, of course. And so I like to make sure that sodium is on. And magnesium is one that I like to watch with my clients and myself, as well as calcium. And then over here on the carbohydrates tab. So this will actually allow you to break down exactly what kind of sugars you're getting. So I like to turn on lactose. So even if you don't eating dairy, I like to turn on lactose just to keep an eye on that. Then you want to turn on sugar alcohols. Even if you're subtracting out sugar alcohols, I think it's a good idea to kind of keep an eye on how many sugar alcohols you're eating on a daily basis. Of course, fiber and starch should definitely be on. All right, moving into lipids. So I think this is fun because I like to keep an eye on my omega-3, omega-6 ratios, different types of fats. And then finally, your protein. So here you can break it down. These are all the BCAAs, all the different amino acids that are in protein. If this overwhelms you, you can turn all of this off and just look at that protein number. All right, so down here, so we've been through all these tabs. And you can always come back here and play around and do whatever you want. So now we're at our weight goal. So let's say this person is 150 pounds and their weight goal is 140 pounds, like maybe their first tier weight goal. So that gets them into a healthy BMI range. This is just a progress chart. And so then you have a goal timeline. I encourage you to just do this half of a pound per week. I encourage you to do no more than this, because this is just going to change your calorie goal. And the thing with the keto diet is that you don't have to have, and you really shouldn't have, a huge calorie deficit. You will lose weight without having to deprive your body of massive amounts of calories. Now, I feel that this is very important, because when we are eating at a very low calorie goal, over time, we can permanently adjust our metabolism down. Now, there's a lot of health benefits to having a slower metabolism, but most of us don't want to slow our metabolism down too much. So I recommend just doing this half of a pound per week. What's going to happen for most people is you're going to see weight loss much faster than that. But what we're doing is just, you can see right underneath, it says requires an average daily 249 calorie deficit. And that number is going to be different based on your weight and height that you've entered. So that is being calculated by this program for you. So again, I encourage you not to start with a calorie deficit. You're asking your body a huge calorie deficit. You're asking your body to relearn a lot of functions. And so it's going to need that extra energy in the first weeks to up to a month or even 6 weeks to learn how to do these different processes we're asking our body to do. So I'm not going to go too deep here into that. I'm just going to encourage you not to go, although it's very tempting to choose this, 2 pounds a week. I really don't recommend this much of a calorie deficit. So either maintain weight or half of a pound a week. All right. So let's move on. So everything has already been saved. You don't even have to click the save button, which is great. So now I'm going to show you fasting. So if you decide to go with Cronometer Gold, and because you used our link, you will get 10% off of that if you ever decide to do that. There is a really cool intermittent fasting timer. You can actually set up a schedule, and it'll keep history and things like that. So it's a really fun tool, but it does require a Cronometer Gold. So we're not going to go too deep into that now. And we do use that for our personal logging. We do have Cronometer Gold. The other feature Cronometer Gold gets you is that you can actually add me as a friend. So if you have Cronometer Gold, you can add me as a friend, and I'll show you that in just a moment, and I'll give you the email address to use to add me. All right, so then display. So again, there's a lot of, the free program is phenomenal. The Cronometer Gold gives you some extra features. So I'm just going to walk you through those things quickly. So with Cronometer Gold, you can show the timestamps. So you can show exactly what time you logged food, and you can add, you can summarize things. So maybe you want to summarize by fat. You're also going to be able to group things. So you're going to be able to say, okay, I want to have a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner, and a snacks category. And you could even add a supplements category. So it allows you to add different groups into your diary. And then it gives you some nutrition scores, some highlighted nutrients, and some nutrient balance. So I do use the highlighted nutrients and the nutrient balances on my personal page, because I like to keep an eye on my omega-6 to omega-3 balance and supplement accordingly. And this alkalinity here, and the calcium to magnesium. So these are all things you can keep an eye on when you're ready to optimize things. All right, so then on devices, Cronometer will allow you to connect all these different devices. So BioSense is a breath ketone meter. It's a very good one, very accurate one. We're going to be talking about that fairly soon. The Oura Ring is something that Jeremy and I both have. I actually didn't even know that this was available to connect. Google Fit, Apple Health. I'm not familiar with this brand. Of course, Fitbit, WeThings, Garmin, Polar, so many different devices. You just click connect, follow the instructions, and things connect in for you. Now, I mentioned about sharing. So sharing Adding a friend simply allows you to see their custom foods and recipes when you do a search. All right. So on my profile, I enter in our recipes. Now, sometimes I get behind, but I enter in all the recipes that are on our website and in our cookbooks. So when you add me as a friend, you actually get access to all those foods and recipes that I've entered. So it takes off some of the work. So if you just are busy, you don't have time to enter in all the recipes custom, which I am going to show you in a different video, you can just click add friend. You do have to be gold to do this. So just keep that in mind. And then you would enter my email address, which is tara@wholebodyliving.com. TARA@wholebodyliving.com. All right. So now we're going to go over and look at the diary. All right. So you see, I did a bunch of messing around. So you got weight. So if you wanted to delete these, you can just right click and delete. And these only delete from your profile. So I'm just going to clean this up. All right, so now I want to walk through what it has calculated out for you. All right, so you're going to see that for this lady, she has 1,892 calories burned. So what that means is that is her basal metabolic rate plus the extra calories she should be eating to get that 250 calorie deficit that we set up. So remember over here in our targets, we set this up here. All right. So that's what that's showing. And so down here is where all the information is going to come up. So I'm going to go ahead and add some foods. So let's say she had a keto coffee and she did coconut oil. She used acacia fiber, which is my favorite trick to get the coconut oil to go ahead and get blended in. And she had a large coffee. All right, so that, so a couple things you can do here. If you click shift, you can select all of these and then right click and create a recipe from selected items. Again, this is a gold feature, but what that will do is it allow you to create, you could title it keto coffee. That way you don't have to log all three of these things every single day if this is what you drink every day. So now I'm gonna get out of that. And so now we have, here it's showing us that she's 80% fat, 2% protein, and 18% carbohydrates. So you can scroll down here, but you can see over here. So here's our goals. So here's our energy and our protein, and our net carbs are still at 0 because acacia fiber is just fiber, 100% fiber. But you can scroll down here and you can kind of start. So here's your fiber, 8.8 grams of fiber. Here's our fat. And it's saturated fat mostly with the coconut oil. And you can see some of these minerals are starting to fill in, B vitamins. So, you know, coconut oil has a lot of different nutrients in it that you may not even be aware of, but actually this is coming from the coffee. Interesting, huh? We should see a few things. So one thing I want to show you, so the coconut oil doesn't want to view, edit, selected food. So I'm just right clicking, view, edit. We can go in and see exactly what's in that coconut oil. So here we've got a little bit of calcium. You see a little bit of vitamin E. You can kind of see what the nutrition breakdown is, our omega-3 6 ratio. So that's just kind of an interesting thing to play around with. Again, you could right click, view, edit, selected food. And here you can see coffee and all the nutrients that are in coffee. All right, so then you can add, so let's do lunch. Let's do just a salad. We're going to throw some almonds on there. And so you can see here it has different options to choose from. And so now it's added our almonds. And so I did this one each. Obviously, we're not going to just have one almond in our salad, but I wanted to show you this. So you can actually change things right here. So let's say we're going to do a quarter cup of slivered almonds because we really want to bump the calories up. And let's say we're going to add some raw mushrooms. And then we're going to make a quick salad dressing. And we're going to use a tablespoon of MCT oil. We're going to use just a basic white vinegar. So you can see a preview as well of what your food is here. We're going to use a teaspoon, half of a teaspoon of brown mustard. Brown mustard is actually an emulsifier and it will help combine the oil and the vinegar together. If you love mustard, you can add a teaspoon here if you'd like. And then we're going to add to this salad dressing some salt. We're going to do a quarter teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to add some oregano and some pepper. So again, you could enter this once and you could choose all these ingredients and you could right click, create recipe from selected items. That's going to create a recipe. You can title it whatever you want. And that way you don't have to enter in all these things all at once. You can do the same thing if you find a salad combination that you really like. So one thing you may notice is as I choose one thing, it's showing me the breakdown of macronutrients. Macronutrients is our protein, carbs, and fat below. And then once I click off the page, you're getting everything else. So we have enough entered here that we can kind of go through things. So you can see, of course, again, you hover over here and you can see kind of where your percentages are. And this is going to be total carbs. You can come over here to see your net carbs, and you see how it's so cool how it pops up with that little thing and it tells you exactly where your net carbs are coming from. So you've got 2.4 grams of raw almonds, 1.4 gram of raw mushrooms, baby spinach is 0.8, and so on and so forth. Same thing for fat, where things are coming from. You got 0.1 grams of fat from your coffee. Interesting. So coming down here, here's those highlighted nutrients we were looking at earlier. So you can actually, when you have Cronometer Gold, you can choose what these are, but I think that the default ones are excellent. You kind of see like on a standard, you know, what is recommended for the amount of fiber you're getting. Here you can see you got 60% of the recommended fiber with 15 grams. Here's your iron, your calcium, vitamin A, C, B12, folate, and potassium. So these are great ones to really look at and make sure that you're getting enough through food. The thing I would add here is I would probably, instead of looking at vitamin C, I would be looking at magnesium, because magnesium is a nutrient that most of us are deficient in. All right, so down here, again, you can see energy and you can see all this fantastic breakdown. So this is really the basics of Cronometer, and I want to show as far as logging food. Now, there's a few more things I want to show you before we wrap things up. So here's where you would add exercise. And you can add this in custom, or you can just choose something and it will give you an average calorie burn. Now, if you do have a smart device, it will go ahead and bring that's connected that we talked about earlier. It'll bring it in automatically, so you won't even have to add in your exercise or your movement. Here you can add in a biometric. So This is awesome. You've got body temperature. You've got, you can add in your, I shouldn't have clicked. So if you scroll down, you can add in your blood ketones, your urine ketones, or your breath ketones, your sleep, your mood. If you get cholesterol numbers in, you can track that right in here. And you can even add a custom biometric if you have gold. So that's where you would add that. And then you can also add a note. So let's say, very stressed today, felt extra hungry or felt hungry. You can put a time of day in if you're gold, and then you can click Save Note. And you can see here, the note shows up right there. All right, so then when you're finished, you don't have to do this, but you can mark the day complete. You can also copy a previous day. So if you pretty much eat the same thing every day, which often happens, you know, when you're following a meal plan, you may be eating the same thing for multiple days. You can copy a previous day, which is awesome, or copy the current day to a new date. All right, so a few more things I want to show you before I let you go. So here's a trends tab that will just kind of show you where you're at as you enter more information, your weight. So you've got some fun charts here. Nutrition report is here, print report, and snapshots. So these are pictures. You can actually add pictures if you want to track your progress with pictures. Now under foods, this is where you can add, you can search foods, of course, that's where it came in, but you can do custom recipes and custom foods. So a custom food, now on the app, so on like the smartphone app or tablet app, you can actually scan in a barcode to log your food. So if that ever happens and the food doesn't come up, this is where you would come. You can do this also on a smart device, and you would add food, and then you could just enter in all of the information for that food in here. Custom recipes is probably something you'll use quite often. Of course, I use this all the time, but you would add in your new recipe, and then you would say, okay, so how many servings? So you would do how many servings? Let's say there's 12 servings. So that's how you would enter that, servings per recipes. 1 serving, servings per recipe. And then you would hit the plus sign here to add and just start adding some different ingredients. So just to kind of show you, this is a weird recipe, I know, just to kind of show you how that works. And then you can see it gives you the nutrition label. It gives you all the nutrition breakdown. You can write some notes in. So maybe you want to make sure you don't forget or lose this recipe. You can actually type up the instructions for making the recipe and put that in. If you want, you can categorize it. So I'm going to show you what this looks like in the food log. So you can add it to the diary straight from here. But if you're over in the diary, you would just click add food, and then you would come over to custom and see this is where all your custom foods and recipes are going to exist. So then you can do however many servings and click add. So when I showed you earlier how to select multiple things, right click and create a recipe, that's the same way of, it's a different way to create those custom recipes. So that pretty much wraps up my overview, except for there's one more thing I want to cover. So let's say you've been using Cronometer for quite a while and you want to adjust these things. All you have to do is go over to settings and tweak some things based on some of the things we talked about earlier. And, you know, we're going to be talking more and more about how do you tweak things to get better results. So make sure you stay tuned to our YouTube channel at Tara's Keto Kitchen, where we share all of our knowledge on the keto diet and, of course, our favorite recipes and tips and tricks and products, just product giveaways, so many things going on over there. So make sure you follow us on YouTube at Tara's Keto Kitchen, and also check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and our brand new TikTok page where we're doing some fun videos. My teenagers actually doing keto and creating all kinds of awesome TikTok content based on the recipes that we've created in our kitchen. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial on Cronometer. This is my favorite tool. I've tried many of the other tools, but I come back to this one time and time again because it gives you some extra information that so many of those other tools don't give you. So I will see you soon.